Hello and welcome to Simplifying AI in Government. I am your host, Ayman Aitani, and I am joined by my colleagues, Jad and MG. Together, we explore AI use cases in government and their impact. Let us get started with the topics for today. What do we have?
Awesome. Ayman, we have a bunch of nice topics. We're going to start off with the US. So the Commerce Department in the US, they enforced stricter rules now on AI and cloud providers, specifically on cybersecurity and safety protocols. So now they're required to submit more detailed reports that convey that they have the protocols in place that ensure them for the safety of any cyber attacks that might happen to them. This also includes the reports for any red teaming. So just for anyone not familiar with red teaming is basically a simulation of attacks that are heavily focused and centered, whether it was for cyber attacks, cyber terrorisms, and so on. So basically, they test the vulnerability of the systems that they have. So now they have to submit these detailed reports. And the cloud providers such as Amazon, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, now basically they have to comply with these stricter rules with AI. I'm sure they have rules for their cloud, for their original cloud services that they offer, but now for everything that they're building with AI, they have to comply in order not to risk any foreign entities basically to interfere with any US knowledge or US sensitive data. So that's what's happening in the US with respect to regulation. Do you think this has a direct impact on these companies, or just overall, is it for the safety of the US and its data, especially in time like this?
When it comes to handling data, there are always cybersecurity concerns. And when you add AI to the mix, what companies are doing is they're digitizing their data, if they have not done that yet, or they're structuring their data in a way that the AI can understand and can process it. This means this data becomes readily available for external attacks. So this is why discussions are happening towards how can we protect the data? What are minimum requirements that companies are asked for? If you are in a regulated industry like healthcare or fintech or so on, you have also added requirements on this. So I don't feel it's an AI problem as much as a data security, data privacy, data governance that are somewhat feeding into AI.
But now that we have AI and all these capabilities that it's capable of, basically, do you think higher standards should apply to cybersecurity, given that now more computing power, we know that machine learning is soon to be involved, if not already yet involved. We know that a lot of big computational resources are involved with these attacks, especially in an AI age. Is there a need for even upping these standards for security of these cyber attacks?
Increasing security is an ongoing process, especially that it has always been the case where you increase the security, then it becomes more difficult for others to penetrate it, and then they figure out ways to penetrate it, and then you increase the security again, and then it makes it more difficult for others who then find ways around it. So it's always an ongoing process which never ends.
Yes. It's a cat and mouse process.
So this would lead to that type of concern that you always have to improve and fix things. I think one of the largest vulnerabilities is most SMEs don't have cybersecurity practices and protection. And SMEs could be small companies of 5-6 people, or it could be thousands of employees defined as an SME. And generally, studies have shown that their security tends to be lacking, although they have a lot of client data, their own information data, how they handle passwords, and so on. So those tend to be also vulnerable to cyber attacks.
We talked about these big companies like Google, like Amazon and Microsoft Azure, but you mentioned SMEs. Do you think most SMEs, whether it was here in the region or in the US, do they have the resources to enforce these strict? I'm talking about the SMEs that are developing their own technologies and not just outsourcing the existing large language models. Do you think they have the resources in play, or do you think any type of funding should be allocated by governments or by, let's say, private businesses?
It's not the government's job. It's not the government's job to help businesses become more secure. It's not the government's job to fund them to secure it. It's on the business itself to secure itself for the data that they're using for AI or otherwise. What I've seen is that it's usually a low priority until a problem happens. So it's a low priority. These are small businesses. They're trying to grow. They're trying to figure out new markets. So security takes a back seat until a problem happens, either to them directly or one of their competitors. That's when suddenly security becomes a priority, and they have a lot of these restrictions in place and better tools in place to do so. Adding AI tools definitely adds a layer of pressure on the need for increased security. The same way when businesses started to have websites to sell online, that means they've exposed part of their inventory, part of their shipment and locations and things and customer data that they had to learn and adapt to that. I feel the same will happen with AI.
Yeah, 100%. So data privacy is at the center of this, and cybersecurity is a main issue that hopefully most, if not all, of these AI providers should have established by now.
Yep, and since we're talking about security, now the next topic is the UAE trying to secure their digital ecosystem. So the government of the UAE, they signed a contract or partnered with Mastercard to establish a global AI hub in Dubai. The purpose of this collaboration partnership is to enhance AI capabilities and specifically to combat financial crimes. This is specifically the reason behind this partnership is in the financial sector. So this collaboration supports the UAE 2031 vision, which aims to integrate AI across all sectors. So in this case, it's in the financial sector, and they're aiming to boost the nation's digital infrastructure. So they will use AI-driven solutions to identify, I think, I forgot the term, money laundering, sorry, and
Small details.
Yeah, it's a small detail. And some financial transactions, combat the financial crimes. And Mastercard's Global Center for Advanced AI, they will focus on these AI-driven solutions, particularly fraud detection, cybersecurity, financial crime prevention, and money laundering. So I think this clearly highlights the UAE's commitment to innovation, how much they're pushing for the use of AI in terms of from the government side or for businesses, for personal productivity, for personal use. And they're highlighting the growth, and they want to focus more and more on building a digital ecosystem powered by AI.
Yep. So the partnership between the UAE government and Mastercard for a global AI hub makes a lot of sense, because the UAE government has protocols in place to always look at how can they further fight cybercrime, how can they make sure a lot of the government entities and semi-government entities have anti-money laundering procedures in place. They have tools and techniques and experience in place in order to combat such behavior. And Mastercard, by design, since they process so many financial transactions, they already have a lot of tools and systems in place in this, and they continue to add to them. So when they work together to have a global AI hub, the collaboration would make sense because it widens the reach and the knowledge and the know-how and the result of the tools for both parties. Both parties have their own unique data sets. So when they exchange information to collaborate better together, then the output becomes better, making it more difficult for issues related to money laundering and such other financial crimes.
Ayman, I'm also seeing that after discussion with the Minister of AI, they expect this partnership to also be attracting more global talent and investments to the UAE. How do you think this would attract more investments into the UAE and more skilled talent?
So attracting global talent to the UAE has always been on one of the key initiatives and activities that the government is doing to bring different members around the world who are specialized in certain topics, to bring them in an environment that is welcoming for them from a business perspective, from a lifestyle perspective, from a long-term career growth perspective. So with AI, there's a push by the UAE government to find and attract global AI companies, global AI specialists to live and build out of the UAE. Having an environment that, in terms of regulation, is open to AI, hosting events like the Dubai AI Festival, having events like the AI Retreat, AI Prompt Engineering Championship, and chief AI officers at the government level is a clear environment. It's a clear indication that the environment to build for AI commercially and long term out of the UAE would make sense for people who are serious about building AI in the long term.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. We're going to move to the third topic, which is the government in New Zealand launching a new pilot. It's a very interesting pilot project that they're launching. They're calling it GovGPT, basically, which is short for Government GPT. What this basically is a chatbot that you can talk to in order to seek government information. Now, they want to, or their aim is basically to reduce or even to remove the need for talking to humans when seeking government information. And they say that the websites of the governments are often filled with a lot of technical, a lot of legal information that businesses often need to know in order to, let's say, launch their businesses or commence in any type of activities. So they're launching this, which is basically an AI tool that allows businesses, allows users to communicate with it in order to get access to these information in a much simpler and a much user-friendly way. They have both voice and text inputs, and the idea started when, or basically the reasoning that they're giving is that last year alone, more than 140,000 phone calls to the what's called the Ministry of Social Development was abandoned. So those there was a need and there was a gap for them to fill in communicating with users or communicating to businesses, and this is the solution that they came with. So it's pretty cool. What do you guys think about this?
So what's the use case? Help me understand this. So you're saying that there's a large volume of incoming calls for social services,
Yeah.
By citizens and residents to social services, and a good portion of them went abandoned. Abandoned as in they were either ring no answer or on hold for a long time.
Yeah.
How is AI helping with this?
So basically, what they're claiming is that they're feeding this GovGPT the information that's available on the government website, so that users can now have 24/7 access to this information in a very user-friendly way. So they can get their answers. They can get their answers without having to wait for any human interaction, and they can even get it in a much simpler way rather than going on the websites and looking up all the information, seeing the opening documents, downloading it. You can get it in a brief, short format, whether it was voice or whether it was text.
What I don't like about this is, in theory, if that's the case, in theory, the website of that government entity was intended to solve this. In theory, past chatbots were intended to solve this. In theory, social media posts and updates and awareness posts and videos were intended to solve this. AI is better at this, but how will it be able to resolve all of this? Is it because you're asking, you're getting answers? I don't know how well that could be, because it depends on the execution. Because if the execution was done like the website and the others, if those were done well, you wouldn't need an AI tool for this. I'm assuming the same approach, they're going to use an AI tool and the result won't be the same because the approach was not helpful.
So you're saying that these just because it's an AI tool doesn't mean that it will enhance user experience, given that these governments can already solve this issue by having proper websites?
MG, you're working with me to build AI tools that can help government entities better manage incoming requests. You can see how the AI tool on its own, without customization, without training it well, without feeding it the right data, without excluding many elements, will not be able to address what the user wants. It can provide answers in good English and so on, but it's not necessarily what the citizen or resident is looking for. So customizing that and training it well will need to be done well with a certain criteria and a certain approach. That just slapping an AI tool in an interface will not resolve what citizen or resident wants. There's a lot more work to be done there.
I do agree with that. I also want to note that even the data itself should be data that an AI model should be able to ingest properly. So if it's not properly cleaned, if it's not properly structured, you won't get the results, rather than having a chatbot that is 1.0 giving you the basic answers as was used to. Something also that they announced alongside GovGPT is a new platform. It's called the Transport Agency app, which is basically digitizing all the charges related to vehicles. This is basically a step back from the AI stuff that they announced with GovGPT. This is basically just for users to, or for citizens basically, to pay their charges related to vehicles. And they also announced an AI activator, which is basically kind of a group that helps a group of experts, some funds to accelerate or activate these startups that are going up in New Zealand when it comes to AI. So it's obvious that that New Zealand has an AI approach. We've talked about New Zealand in the past, and we still talk about it still today. They have an approach similar to UAE of using AI forwardness, and they're setting small footsteps towards that goal, whether it was GovGPT or the AI activator or similar stuff like that.
What else do we have? I'm looking at fishermen and AI. What's that?
Yes, so this is an Indonesian government tool. So the Indonesian government, they built an AI tool called the Double N Marlin, and this is specifically for fishing. So previously, fishermen used to rely on their instinct, so they just get on the boat, go to the sea, try to fish as many fishes as possible, but they could never know how much they could fish or like take a guess. So at some point, the government, they visited a village and demonstrated this tool. So this is an AI-based mobile application. It works on mobiles and tablets. And they said this would take the guessing where I would fish better today out of the picture. So this is established by the National Research and Innovation Agency. A bit of background behind it. It was established in 2019, and it leads Indonesia's AI efforts across the multiple sectors like climate change, fishing, and so on. So they're aiming now by this tool, by this venture, to increase Indonesia's GPT using AI to support food sustainable growth by the end of 2024. So how does this application work? So the Double N Marlin application, it can locate the density of the fish in the sea based on the sea surface temperature. So it analyzes based on satellite images where the sea levels are like the temperature is higher than here. And it analyzes also another thing. It's called chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll.
This is I
take that in
think
science.
Yes, Dr. Jad. Yes, Dr. Jad. Tell us more about chlorophyll.
It's science.
It's related to fishes. And so when the AI combines the temperature and this chlorophyll, they can locate where the fish are dense. And also this app sends notification daily to the fishermen. So it's already being used by more than 200 fishermen, I think. They pay a monthly or a weekly subscription to use it on their phones, and it sends them notifications. It tells them that for this day, you just go here for this hour. Preferably, you go to these coordinates and so on. So Ayman, what do you think about such a tool, or Andy?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So this uses satellites rather than radars, because this reminds me of my dad and his brothers go fishing, and on the bottom of the boat there's this basically infrared sensor that pulses and gives them basically the density of where the fishies are at. So then if they find low density, they have to move there. So this, I'm assuming, only analyzes images instead of actually analyzing, let's say, objects in close proximity.
It analyzes the temperature so it can locate the density of the fishes and be.
All right, good answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
The vibe I'm getting, it's like a sci-fi movie where you have a satellite and they zoom in, and then you see that, and it gives information to the fishermen. I think it's blown out of proportion. So what the Indonesian government is doing to support fishermen is using AI technology, because the approach there, it's one of many initiatives that governments usually do for fishermen, farmers, and other non-digital industries. They help provide them with tools and upskilling activities in order to help them, produce better crop and fish more. So here, what we're looking at is Indonesia is trying to look at how they can provide information to fishermen on where the pockets of fish are for them to fish better. They're onto something with that, but I feel it is expensive. Somebody has to pay for that tool and the satellite imagery and the analysis and the AI tools and so on. So there's a cost there on this. Second, they need to overcome somewhat the skill set, because a lot of people who are fishermen or farmers and so on, they have no need for regular use of tools and technology, and they haven't been doing that for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So they're comfortable with smartphones, but not enough to use devices and things like this. So I've seen many efforts in the past where they've tried to upskill, and then they always said, we're comfortable with what we have. This is what we want. This is what we've been doing for a long time. My grandfather used to do this. His grandfather's grandfather used to do this. We're going to continue to do it this way. So though that type of resistance, I feel, is not an AI tool as much as adoption of new technology, change management, changing how they're doing things. So there's a cost element and also change management on the approach there. But I am for having different government initiatives support certain sectors, because if they don't do that, if they don't push those sectors and provide financial support or access to markets for them to sell their produce, those segments will gradually die out or dry out.
Ayman, I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, you created a video about how shopping carts, like when you travel, let's say to Turkey or another country, there is a lot of shopping carts that sell street food on the street, how they won't accept cryptocurrencies, cards, they just take cash and so on. Is this the same case here?
So the example that he's giving is street food. If you go up to a street food, and it's a cart or a van owned by a person, and he or she have been selling food from this with their family for the longest time, and you're asking them to sell now with crypto payments, right? So, and they usually deal with cash, and it took them a long time to adopt card payments, and they're doing this because there are many tourists who come in, they don't have local currency. So it was a way for them to collect money better in this. But it takes a while because their focus is on going early to the market, finding the fresh produce, having their equipment ready in time, preparing their food ready in time, being at the location where it's peak, being early there to prepare. I've had discussion with them. Some of them say, I've had one of them, he says, my dad has been doing this for a long time, but I'm lazy. I don't start as early as he was. I was like, define lazy. He's like, by 5 a.m., I'm already on my cart doing preparation. I was like, why is that lazy? Because my dad used to do it at 3 a.m., right? So for him, and he's been doing this for a very long time, and he gets his produce from his neighbors and things like this. I don't know how much using a technology and AI tool to help do this would help them. I think what they always need is more customers. So whether they're locally in your country or if there's an export aspect, whether it's fishing and farming, I feel those are trade partnerships and so on that can help with all of that. I don't feel it's a strong AI use case because it's expensive and the audience might not be interested in having it done in a certain way. All right, so that's it from our side for talking about AI in government and what are use cases that we've come across that are interesting for us to discuss together. We're live every Thursday at 5 p.m. Dubai time on LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. Thank you for joining us.